Hi everyone, I am Heather, and I want to welcome you to Magnificent Authors Podcast, brought to you by Magnificent Mamas. This is the show where we'll celebrate the magic of storytelling and the power of words. I'm your host, Heather, and each week I'll be sitting down with incredible authors from all walks of life to explore their creative journeys, uncover their writing secrets, and delve into worlds they create. Whether you are an aspiring writer, a passionate reader, or simply curious about the minds behind your favorite books, this is the podcast for you. So grab a cozy blanket, pour yourself a cup of tea, and get ready to be inspired by the magnificent authors who join us. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, it's Heather with Magnificent Mamas and Magnificent Authors Podcast. You'll notice it says JoJo is Heather as well, so we're going to pretend she's me. JoJo, you want to introduce yourself? And
hey everyone, I'm Josephina. We're also here with Destiny today.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Destiny Pifer. I'm a horror author. I've been published in over 60 anthologies and about 7 or 8 magazines and on various websites.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Congrats. What, you write horror and you have the anthologies? Are those horror as well?
Yes.
Awesome. I love horror.
Yeah, I have done other stories like romance and drama type stories in the past, but I tend to shift more towards the horror genre.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite horror author?
I actually do. I actually preferred a couple of authors from the 80s. Ruby Jean Jensen and also Michael McDowell. Those were two of my favorite authors. Ruby wrote about killer dolls that would go after kids. Mm-hmm. And Michael wrote about Southern Gothic type horror. And, I grew up reading them and, of course, R.L. Stine's Fear Street and Christopher Pike. And, yeah, I've always read. I read every single day, and those authors inspired me to want to become a horror author someday.
Nice. What are you currently reading?
Well, I'm currently reading a book by John Saul.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another one of my favorite authors.
Sorry, my dog was going nuts. You want to tell us a little bit about your books?
Well, I've been published in anthologies by Black Ink Fiction, Black Hair Press, Nordic Press, just various anthologies that I accidentally discovered on social media. Mm-hmm. And I think Black Hair Press was the first anthology to publish my stories. I think I have more stories in their publication than anything.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. I have written a horror novel. It is currently with an indie press right now. I can't really say their name yet, but they are editing it and formatting it, and they intend to hopefully have it published by the end of the summer. So I'm very excited about that because it's been waiting over just about close to 10 years to get it published, and I finally found a publisher willing to do that. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Nice big achievements there.
Yeah.
You've written how many publications? 40, you said?
Over 60 anthologies.
That's a wild amount. I couldn't imagine writing that much.
Yeah, a lot of people look at me and say, is that all you do all day is write? And it's like, well, yeah, because it keeps me sane.
Yeah. So what type of horror? Is it like slasher? Is it, I don't even know the subgenres of horror sometimes. It's all just great.
Yeah, I've written all kinds of horror. From slasher to like about like a swamp type creature. I've gotten into like body horror type stories. But I've also written like science fiction. So I tend to push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
When I see these different submission calls, I'm like, I wonder if I can do that. If I could write exactly what they're looking for, like splatterpunk or something. And
Yeah.
I just start brainstorming and it comes to me.
I love horror. I don't think I could write it though. Sorry, as I maneuver myself. I think I'm much better at reading horror than writing it. I don't think anything I would write would be up to even comparison to anything I've read.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, they're like, don't you have like nightmares? How can you write such stories? And I grew up, when I was little, my parents used to watch shows like Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Friday the 13th, the series, The Hitchhiker, and like, I think there was one called Monsters. They were like anthology type series. And I grew up when I was in elementary school watching these shows, and I didn't feel afraid. Instead, I remember sitting with my little notebook and jogging down ideas like, oh, I wonder if I could write a story this cool, about this possessed doll or something. So watching those type shows really inspired me to go into the depths of my mind where, things are created. And it doesn't scare me, no. I'm pretty used to it. I love watching horror movies, so it just inspires me even more.
That's awesome. What's your favorite scary movie?
That's a hard one. I have so many favorite. I would have to say Witchboard from 1987. It's the one that had the White Snake Girl, Tawny Kitaen, I think.
I'm not sure if I've heard of that.
Yeah, it involves an Ouija board and an evil spirit, and I just got done actually watching it probably for the 100th time the other day.
Oh wow.
It's such a really good horror story, and what drew me to it is that I grew up with a mother who her and her friends would all play the Ouija board. So yeah, I found myself drawn to those type of stories.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like the Ouija board stuff. It definitely creeps me out too. At the same time, my husband loves watching all of that type of stuff. What was it? The Ouija experiment, I think, where they didn't say goodbye to the board and like a whole bunch of bad stuff happened.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's definitely something freaky, yeah.
Yeah. Jojo, you got any questions?
Not really. At this moment, I'm trying to think of questions, but I don't really know what to ask because I personally don't read very much horror. So I don't know. I don't know much about it in order to ask questions.
Why don't you read horror? Jojo? You read horror.
I've just never been the biggest fan. Like I don't watch horror movies. I don't like I watch more thriller movies than I do like actual like horror or like slasher or anything like that. Just because it's just not my cup of tea, I suppose. Like I don't know. It's just not something that I've really ever been interested in watching or
You
reading.
just haven't
or
found the
just,
right
I don't
one
know.
yet. I think that's it.
I guess
Maybe
that's
you need
it.
something not super scary that you're gonna have nightmares. I mean, there's, romantic horror and stuff like that too, so. Do you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
read one book that was considered like romantic horror.
Okay. Do you have a favorite character in any of your books that if you could bring them to life for a day, that you would?
Not really. I have so many different stories. It's hard to remember all my characters. I take a lot of joy in creating new ones, new characters, new stories.
Nice. Sorry. I was writing down someone's name. If you could live in any horror book, in like the setting, in the story, which one would it be?
I'm really not sure. Yeah, that one I'm not sure about.
It's a hard question.
Yeah,
sure.
Probably maybe The Shining. I mean, I would be
Ooh.
interested in learning the history and dealing with ghosts may be fun.
It would be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know which is creepier, the twin girls or the lady in the bathroom.
Lady in the bathroom, definitely. I don't know if you ever saw the remake with Steven Weber in the 90s, him and Rebecca De Morey. They did an updated version of The Shining, and the woman in the tub was a lot scarier in that one.
You're not talking about Dr. Sleep, are you?
No, I'm talking about a remake of The Shining.
Wow, I never knew they made a remake of it.
Yeah, Stephen King wanted to be the one to direct the remake because he didn't like the one that Stanley Kubrick did. And the one with Steven Weber and stuff was a lot better in my opinion, and the woman in the bathtub was really super scary.
That's crazy. I never knew that existed, so now I'm gonna have to look for it and watch it today.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Do you have any other interests besides reading and writing?
I'm an artist. I paint, I draw, I sketch. I also love doing photography and just love being outdoors.
That's awesome. What would you say there's a famous author that inspired you to write?
I would have to say it would be like Christopher Pike the most. I read his stories the most.
Do you feel like I just totally spaced on my thought. Sorry, hold on. Can you get me a drink, please? I need a drink. Sorry, give me just a second. My brain just went haywire for a second. Um, if you had to write a different genre and it couldn't be horror, what would you write?
Let's see, I've written just about every genre. I even wrote a memoir that I'm working on trying to get published. Probably I would probably do romance books. Because those are kind of a step higher than the horror genre. I mean, I've noticed that a lot of people tend to go more towards the romance than they do the horror.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like, in the horror, like in bookstores, you see more Stephen King and Dean Koontz and Anne Rice than anything that was put out by these other authors. So yeah, it's often a little bit of a challenge, but I probably do the romance genre.
That's one I feel like I don't think I would do very well, but I don't know. Everyone's got their strong suits, and mine, what I write
Are
is,
there any genres that you haven't written in that you explore?
Not really, because I've written just about, I think probably the one that I struggle the most with would be like a Dungeons and Dragons type, like fantasy. I've never really been good with doing the whole fantasy stories or the real deep sci-fi stories like dinosaurs. I've never been good at writing those type.
I love writing sci-fi fantasy. It's my
Yeah,
favorite to write.
those are ones I kind of struggle with.
I think that's awesome, though, that you have experience writing all these different genres, because it seems like a lot of authors, they just write one or two genres and don't try to, I'm not necessarily saying don't try to build their skill onto other genres, but they stick with what they're good at.
Yeah.
What would be the one genre you would never write?
Um, I honestly don't know, because I have always liked pushing myself to write different genres. I was a news reporter for 5 years, so I have a ton of experience writing like human interest stories, interviewing people. So yeah, I became used to writing all kinds of genres.
That's awesome. Are you currently working on anything right now?
Yeah, I'm writing eco type horror story for a friend of mine. All the proceeds will be going to this bee project to save honeybees. So I'm writing a story for them right now, and I'm also working on a story for a podcast friend of mine. So those are the two I'm working on right now.
Nice. It sounds good.
Try to keep myself busy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I understand that. I feel like constantly busy, like it never ends.
Yeah,
There's just not enough time in a day to do everything you want to do.
exactly.
What type of advice, excuse me, I can't speak, would you give to authors that are just beginning?
To read lots of different type of like if they want to write horror, read books other than Stephen King. Read from like different type of authors, male and female authors. Anything you can get your hands on, because every time you read, that, I believe that makes you a stronger writer when you read the work of others.
Oh yeah, definitely. Would you say that there's more male authors or female authors in the horror genre?
That's kind of hard because I've noticed lately that there's been a lot of female writers coming forward who write horror stories now.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like through the years we've been seeing more woman writers coming forward.
I agree completely. Would you say the stuff that you've written is more geared towards adults, or could young adults and teenagers read it, or?
I've written for both adults and I have written young adult horror.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written for both. I mean, young adults can read it. I mean, my 16-year-old son has read my stories.
Yeah.
And it's inspired him to want to start writing horror himself.
That's awesome. That is great. My daughter's 15 and I homeschool her, and she's just finally coming around to getting interested in reading, but she's doing like audiobooks. And I count that as a win. So she's always got earbuds in her ears listening to audiobooks.
That's great.
Currently, she's sitting right over there listening to an audiobook.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I love it. Jojo, you got any questions? I think you cut out there for a minute, or at least on my end. I can't hear her.
Yeah, I can't either.
Jojo, you're glitching. I don't think she has any more questions. Do you have anything else you want to share? Upcoming events, projects, any advice?
I guess my last piece of advice is to not give up. I know that in the beginning it was hard because I remember when I was a teenager, I wanted to be in Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I was always reading these stories, and I never got published in there. I still haven't. I would get rejection after rejection after rejection. And in the beginning, it weighed me down. But the more I kind of kept pushing myself, saying, you know what, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to just keep on writing. There's got to be a publisher out there somewhere who will accept my stories.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the more I just kept pushing the rejections aside and focusing on my goal, the more successful I became.
That's good, and that's important. And reaching your goals and knowing you're reaching them is an amazing feeling, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we will make sure to share links to your books and your social media and everything on our website so people know where to find you and check out your books.
All right, wonderful.
With that, I'm pretty much done. I don't have anything else to ask right now.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today and being on our show, and thank you for everyone that's listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on another episode of Magnificent Authors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share another inspiring conversation with a talented author. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Magnificent Authors Podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming conversations with amazing writers. And be sure to check out Magnificent Mamas on our website, which is www.magnificentmamas.us, or on our Facebook page for more inspiring content from incredible authors. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. What resonated with you the most? Head over to Facebook or leave a comment on our website and let me know. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep those imaginations soaring.